Let's discuss some of these challenges further. We're now joined by attorney Clorinda Scalco, who's an attorney who's been handling GBV cases and other matters. Thank you so much for your time, Clorinda. We do appreciate it. I must say that I think what really shook the country was about a week or two ago when the Sowetan newspaper had a front page of how many children have been murdered and been abused just this year alone, or in the first 3 months of this year alone. Those statistics are really shocking, and you ask yourself the question, is government really doing anything about this? You're an attorney, you deal with these matters on a daily. Perhaps just take us into your world and tell us how serious the problem is.
Well, Heidi, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's a really serious problem. I think that with my experience, I think that we just don't have the resources that are needed to properly combat this terrible sort of illness in our society. Just generally, resources are very, very low and slack, and people just don't seem to have the energy to really get stuck in and do something proper about it. And that, I think, is a huge problem for us.
I want you to get into some details, not too many details, because I know cases are very sensitive and you obviously can't divulge too much information. But what are you finding as an attorney? What cases are being brought to you, especially when you find that often these children that are murdered and attacked like this so viciously come from the most vulnerable parts of our society?
Yes, that's very sad. Some of the cases are currently involve sexual abuse in the form of grooming by people the closest to the children. Some of them are just really brutal by people that these children trust. And also I find that generally, I've had a matter recently where a mother had met this guy and known him for about 2 or 3 weeks, and on a Sunday decided to let this guy take this child off, supposedly to go and eat, to get food at McDonald's. And this, he locked the woman in the house, took the keys and her car, left at about 9:10 in the morning, and only brought the child back sort of 4 in the afternoon. And, it's just beyond me that people can do that. And yes, children are trusting, unfortunately. And sometimes I find that the people closest to these children, maybe naivety, maybe trust. I'm not sure what's happening to society, and let these children go, even letting children go to the shops on their own, sort of wander around on their own, go to school and come back on their own. It's just a nightmare. It shouldn't be happening. They should be protected somehow. Possibly the institutions, but I suppose it's a budgetary question, should provide transport for the children to and from school. The children should be cared for in the afternoons properly, not be allowed to wander on the streets on their own. And it's very heartbreaking for me to watch and see every day.
I think what's even more alarming and heartbreaking is, and this is a known fact, is that oftentimes these violent and really terrible acts are done by those closest to these children, or a new boyfriend that's come in, or a new family member, or whatever it might be. And I think that's what's so disturbing, is that why would anyone want to hurt their loved ones? Just lastly, Clorinda, I want to ask you, there's this GBV Summit that's going to be taking place this week by the president, and there's been much criticism that not much has really been done. It's one thing to host summits, it's one thing to pour money into a pot and say we are going to dedicate this amount of money to assist GBV victims and to really get to the bottom of this. But you're dealing with this every day and you're saying you don't know what's happened to society. It really is a societal problem, isn't it? It's about reflecting inwards and saying, I've got to be a better person. This abuse comes from somewhere, and perhaps these GBV summits don't necessarily work. What is your view, dealing with these matters every day, on the summit happening again this year?
My view is you can have as many summits as you want, but if you don't have people on the ground, hands-on, and do something, roll the sleeves up and do something from the grassroots upwards, it's never going to be resolved. It really isn't. I've also found that, well, my experience has been since COVID, you can go to any courts and those corridors are lined with people, not just child abuse, but just generally people, male and female, seeking protection orders against boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, husbands, ex-husbands, an array of relationships. And those corridors are just lined, and we just unfortunately don't have enough resources in the courts to deal with it. We really, really don't. We need more resources. My honest opinion is more money should be spent in improving our court system to cater better for more social workers who are better trained, for people to be able to read something is really not right here, what is going on. So our social workers are so swamped. They come to court and literally ask the court, can they please be excused now? Are they done? Without properly investigating matters, stand there and they see, oh, this report's fine. Can I please be excused from the matter? No, we can't. We can't do that anymore. I would say to the president, please rather look at sort of focusing on more resources in our courts, more resources in our social services system to be able to deal with this. Psychologists, social workers, just that's what we actually need, Heidi. It's fine to stand everybody at a summit and say, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but nothing actually ever happens. It's really a sad state of affairs. And we need more resources. More police need to be trained properly. Child protection units needs more resources that are actually properly trained to deal with these matters. Because sometimes people go to police stations, they want to lay a charge, and then nobody actually knows what to do. And then it's referred to this one and that one and the other one. And you spend half the time looking for someone who actually understands what's going on, who actually can help, and everybody's in meetings and everybody's busy. That's not how it should be. I'm sorry, because nothing's going to be resolved the way we're going on now.
Yeah, no, it truly is. It truly is tragic, and we do hope that they understand that the lack of resources is really causing major problems. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the work that you do. I do know that you make and have a huge impact on many lives. That was Attorney Clorinda Scalco speaking to us about the devastating situation when it comes to GBV cases and under-resources in courts.